A few years ago, I was part of a leadership team that ran a Transgender Day of Remembrance service at the congregation that I served at the time. And if you know what that is, a Transgender Day of Remembrance is a time that we remember those trans people who have died in the previous year, often through very difficult circumstances, often circumstances associated with violence. So we did this beautiful service, and as I was walking out, I saw a trans man who worked there in our congregation, and I said, wasn't that a beautiful service? And he said, yes, it was beautiful, but I could tell there was something under what he was saying, and I said, tell me, what are you thinking? He said, well, once again, it seems like our deaths are more important to people than our lives. And I made a vow then, and Pastor Mandy has been working with me on this as well, as she said, to actually highlight Transgender Day of Visibility, which is coming up, as she said, this Friday, because it's a way of actually celebrating the lives of people who are trans, people we may know and people we may not know. I know that in our world today, there's a lot of conversation about trans people. And I know there might be people right here in our midst who identify as trans or have people in your lives who you love who are trans. But there may also be those amongst you who are feeling confused by all the dialogue that you see out in the world and all the terminology, the words like transgender, non-binary, agender, gender expansive, intersex, and so on. It's a big conversation with a lot of details. And I'm here this morning, and Reverend Mandy's with me on this, to say that as faith communities, we don't have to necessarily understand every nuance of something like this. Because what we're actually called to do is look for those in our world who are being targeted, who are being discriminated against, who are asking us to pay attention and lift up the truth of their dignity in their lives. And so that's what we as faith communities can do. And we can educate ourselves, we can learn more, but what we can hold most closely is compassion. Growing up as a disciples in Indianapolis, Indiana, not too far from you, right? I always loved the parables of Jesus. And Pastor Mandy and I were talking about the Good Samaritan story and how much that has influenced my life. Because you all know it, and it's a story about stranger helping another stranger, especially the idea that maybe these strangers are people who live in very different worlds, and maybe they don't think they have a lot in common. But the message of the story is that we help people who need it. Whether we understand everything about them, whether we know everything about them, we listen to the voices of people in need, and we offer help. We give them a place to feel that their lives have dignity and worth and value. And that, I think, is the core tenet of most religious traditions. And that is why it's so important to be part of a community like this one that is breathing life into those dry old bones and bringing something new into our world, offering that compassion and love that is so desperately in need. So today, as you renew your commitment to this community and continue supporting it, I also invite you to think of those trans people who are asking for us to lift up their lives today. And let us do that with love, compassion, and understanding.